I thought I was already black-pilled about the existing system, but then I read that book and I'm
Oh,
like, oh my gosh, it's
it's
even worse.
way
But
worse. Robert Kennedy does great work.
yeah, and it's so well documented. And he does, and supposedly it's about COVID, right? It attracted people who were
Yeah.
interested in Fauci and COVID, but he spends almost a half of the book about HIV and whether HIV, how it was engineered to some, not literally, but like the response to it,
Oh,
right?
sure.
Yeah.
She's greatest gift is a bureaucratic image message crafter. It's not as a scientist. It's him being able to, from what I can tell, him being able to corral scientists and bend them to their will to have the effect on policy and the media that he wants. And he's damn good at it.
Yes. This the start of cancel culture, right? Was like anyone who goes against us will lose all their funding, will not be able to publish in journals anymore. It very vindicative, like
Yeah.
very just. But
I
so
mean, you Amy Maxman and Nature is a journalist, and now she's yeah. I don't know if you know about this one, but she was like the pop science writer for Nature. Was writing all of these articles about how the people who said it came from the lab in Wuhan were conspiracy theorists, and the zoonosis is obviously correct. Now she's got an internship at the Council of Foreign Relations.
and so when you think with the entire NIH, NIAID is taken by that sort of corruption, even if the scientists in the mid-level and the lower levels think that they're doing is right, if the people at the top levels have been corrupted, it ultimately doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's Noam Chomsky's manufacturing consent at just like a way grander scale. Like Chomsky was just scratching the surface of what was going on.
So the basic premise of the Kennedy book is that they ran out of viruses to fight in the 70s. They tried to manufacture one with the swine
Yeah.
flu. They ended up immunizing hundreds of thousands of people. No one ended up catching the swine flu. Hundreds of people had really bad side effects, maybe
Yeah.
dozens died. And then Anthony's Fauci's boss eventually got axed because of that. And then he came to power in the early 80s and he saw HIV as a chance to just manufacture fear and shore up power, I guess, to some degree, to be
Yes.
able to surround himself with these PIs that are essentially his cavalry, and he's like the lord, the general to some degree. Ultimately, I'm of the opinion that HIV is real, and it does lead to destroying immune systems. But I think what the tragedy, there's two tragedies that Fauci did perpetrate, and that one of them was ignoring all the other cases that didn't fit with that paradigm. There are people who have HIV who don't progress to AIDS, and that
Uh-huh.
was just ignored. They're like, those people, they're going to eventually have AIDS, and we're just not going to really focus on them when they should have been trying to figure out what was happening with those people. And
Yeah.
then there's people whose immune systems are trashed, and they have AIDS according to the definition of their CD4 count, and those people are marginalized. They gave them some sort of idiopathic lymphocytopenia, they just didn't want people investigating it essentially, and they swept it under the rug. And what reality was that a lot of people, it probably doing drugs, especially poppers and meth and all these things, was probably accelerating the progression of HIV to
Oh,
AIDS.
oh,
And if
sure.
people knew that and it was more studied, I think it would have helped a lot of people not progress to AIDS. And then the second really big tragedy of everything was just how much AZT accelerated the decline in people. If you had just been pushing,
What is
be
AZT?
healthy, don't do drugs, instead of AZT, the outcomes probably would have been a lot better.